Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
Do you want to hear a story?
I'm not letting go.
Are you ready for this?
Follow your heart.
I'm going in.
This is
Blockbuster Punch-Up. Welcome to Blockbuster Punch-Up. This is episode 23. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and film enthusiast, Todd G. Levin.
Yes, that is me. So it's 4th of July weekend.
Fireworks are getting ready.
The burgers are roasting. The hot dogs are on fire.
Flying through the air.
Everything is going wrong.
Everything's on fire.
Yeah, it's all wrong. And, we decided that this would be the right weekend to revisit a lost classic.
A blockbuster that we're really sorry we missed.
Yeah.
We didn't address it all.
It was our prerogative, and we failed you, so we apologize.
So many letters just asking us to talk about it.
Lots of letters. Lots of some scintillating letters as well.
Yeah, they were.
A little thing called 50 Shades of Grey came out.
50 Shades of Grey.
Now, this is a movie that I saw alone with a sandwich, and I immediately called Jay and said, "You must see 50 Shades of Grey." And he's like, "Really? Do I?"
And this kind of became like an ongoing joke where like
every other week.
Yeah, every other week.
As soon as an episode came out, we would, try to discuss the next week's episode and what we should do. And inevitably, it always came down to...
So, 50 Shades of Grey?
So, Jay, you want to hop over to your local Cineplex and see 50 Shades of Grey? And this kid would not do it for the longest time.
I would not see it. And it wasn't because I hate 50 Shades of Grey. I actually know nothing about it. But I really just did not...
And what do you had some strange ideas as to what this movie is?
So, I know nothing...
Which I find so strange. How could you not know what the movie is?
I know nothing about 50 Shades of Grey, and I've managed to, somehow just miss conversations. As
so,
someone
Jay,
will be like,
what is your idea
what do I
of
think
what
50
Theo
Shades of Grey?
James's 50 Shades of Grey is about?
Okay, so without knowing anything, and it's a blockbuster, and it made so much money.
This should be good.
So I just have to imagine, okay, so clearly the main character is an artist, a famous billionaire artist. As we know, artists make billions of dollars when they're alive. And this artist is pursuing, we all know this scientifically, that there are only 49 shades of gray. And this artist believes in his heart of hearts that there is a 50th shade of gray. And he is out to prove that there is a 50th shade. Now, I imagine this film, since it was so popular, I have to imagine it was like a mixed match of there was some intrigue, political intrigue, kind of like The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch. So I'm sure at some point, the government realizes he's figuring out the 50th shade of gray. They get involved. I only surmise
this. Not the 50th.
Yeah, I only surmise this because there's a lot of pictures of the characters in handcuffs and being blindfolded. So I'm sure they're interrogated at some point, they're in a locked room.
Come on,
where's the 50th shade of gray?
Okay. So who's the female character that you've seen on the posters?
The female character, I believe, is going to be the shadowy operative. She looks like she comes to work for the billionaire artist, but clearly she works for the government. But through love and exciting action scenes, they're gonna fall in love, and there might be some sex. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the film, but I think they might throw a little bit in there.
Jay says, quote, Jay, there might be some sex.
There might be some sex in 50 Shades of Grey. So that's what I think I'm about to go into, and I'm pretty, now that I really think about it, I'm kind of excited about it.
So we decided to do a bit of a different thing today. I've actually seen the film, Jay has not. And when we come back, we'll do a quick recap and go into the pros and cons and... get into it, I guess.
Yeah, get into a potential punch-up, because this film could be really exciting based on what I think it could be.
This could be a +2.
I mean, this could be a +2, guys. So,
end of the year's smash.
I'm excited. Here we go.
We are watching a movie. We are watching a movie. We are watching a movie. And we'll be right back now.
And we're back. So, how did our intrepid artist billionaire Mr. Gray fare, Jay?
He never quite got to any of that artistry work. Nor did he ever really get to any political intrigue or
what was he interested in there?
It was mostly sex.
Anastasia Steele.
Anastasia Steele, and Mr. Grey had a lot of sex in that movie. There was a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was, I come to realize now after watching the film that really this is just a different take on Batman. This is if Batman had a darker past, and instead of fighting crime, he instead invested all of his money into sex gadgets, and then went around it instead of finding a Robin to fight.
Well, he has like a cave.
He has a sex cave.
A play cave.
He has like marketable vehicles like Batman, who puts his bat logo on everything.
And he's got gadgets.
Yeah, he's got gadgets, sex gadgets, handcuffs. He's got handcuffs. That's one thing that parallels.
We know he has a belt.
If you did a Venn diagram between Batman and Mr. Grey, they would have belt and handcuffs right there in the middle.
Belt, handcuffs, ties, suits.
Marketable vehicles, cool suits. He's a billionaire, so pretty close. He can fly
planes.
And he invites Anastasia Steele, which is like a superhero name, into the hall of Sex Cave to fight for sex justice. And it's a pretty interesting take on Batman.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea, but, I like the fighting and the ninjas and the Batarang stuff. But, this is interesting, too.
So 50 Shades of Grey, in all seriousness. What should we do, a recap?
Yeah, let's do a quick recap of this film. So,
essentially, you've got, because it's not super complicated, right?
Complex.
Anastasia Steele, as dime store romance novel a name I've ever heard one, is a English lit graduate at a school. What else do we know about her? Virtually nothing.
She has a roommate and parents.
She
like
has
most
parents,
human
and
beings.
she has a roommate, and she bites her lip a lot. Moonlights for her roommate in interviewing this big billionaire conglomerate head honcho guy who's also somehow her same age. And Christian Grey, and who exercises control in all things, he says. Thus starts a relationship where he starts extraordinarily forward type of courtship, I guess.
Yeah, they get real intimate real fast. He invites her on a really weird, lamer version of Whole New World. He takes her in his helicopter. They don't speak on the entire...
No, they just listen to that pop song.
They listen to a pop song and stare at each other.
And they stare at each other.
And they go to his house, his other house.
Right.
I have no idea where this guy lives.
It's a date. He takes her to his home and then proceeds
instead of going out anywhere.
And then proceeds to show her a room that she will be staying in, his sex closet, where he keeps all of his sex toys, and describes to her a relationship that he would like to have with her that includes her essentially being the sub to his dom. Mm-hmm. So basically the rest of the movie is Anastasia Steele has a lot of trouble with this. She doesn't want to sign the contract.
She has problems with things like butt plugs and pretty much anything else that she could research online, yet just doesn't know how to use Google or the internet. Okay, you know what? It's fine. I understand it because she carries around a flip phone.
She has a flip phone.
Meanwhile, everybody
else... You know what? Let's go back. That's actually a signifier of what we're supposed to learn about her character early on, is that she has a flip phone, so that tells us all we need to know.
That tells us everything we need. It's kind of like the burger phone in Juno, except here it's just so much richer. There's a lot more to take away from a flip phone in a current age movie.
So the rest of the movie, she wants to get closer to him. She wants to be intimate with him. He doesn't do love or romance or making love or any of these things.
And instead of standing firm to that, they have sex a bunch anyway. And then they talk about each other sometimes in between having sex.
He reveals that he was abused at a young age. She requests to see how deep the abusive past rabbit hole goes. Yeah. He whips her with a belt 6 times, very hardly, I guess.
Very harsh, very vicious scene.
And then she leaves.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
And that's the end of this recap.
50 Shades of Grey.
It feels abrupt because it ended like that.
Credits.
All right, guys. Well, that'll take us right into our punch up.
Punch up.
Yellow, Todd. Yellow.
Oh.
You know I only like open palm.
Okay, so I shouldn't go further and punch you.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's a little... We have
I
our
thought
rules,
you said
Todd.
YOLO.
Oh, that's... You know what? I understand what you mean.
Yeah, maybe we should redesign the contract.
The
podcasting
contract. Yeah,
to say like not yellow for
not yellow. Probably something like orange. Nobody really mistakes orange for YOLO.
How about
not
stop
anymore.
hitting me in the face, Todd?
That's a good one. That's a good code word. Hold on, let me just write that down right here. And so guys, we're here to talk about the pros and cons of 50 Shades of Grey. And we typically start off with our pros. So what are our pros for 50 Shades of Grey?
Okay, listen. I'm glad that someone wrote a book about the subject. I'm glad that someone adapted a movie about the subject.
Yeah.
It's titillating, sex sells, it's a real life...
And there's a lot of sex, guys. If you're into nudity, people, there's a lot of it.
It's a real life, dom-sub relationships. There's been shades of them in different movies, but there's never really been a movie about that, and I appreciate that there is one, I suppose, because erotic thrillers and all that kind of stuff are really fun,
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut.
Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, Showgirls, if you want to throw that in there.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of erotic thrillers. They're really fun. Sex is an interesting topic. We all have it. We all do it. It's fun to watch on screen.
And guys, just to let you know how committed we were to this, I watched the unrated version.
Oh, that's right.
We had Shades of Grey.
On the Blu-ray of 50 Shades of Grey.
Two options.
We had one of two options.
There was a fork in the road where it was theatrical version or unrated version. And guys, we're committed to this podcasting. And we went the unrated route.
We went down a dark path.
Real dark. So there was a little extra skin here and there.
So anyway, yes, I do enjoy that someone made this movie. So other than that, I think actually that despite the content, it looks great.
It looks beautiful.
I think the direction and the cinematography especially are actually really beautiful. I know that you're laughing maybe now that I'm complimenting, but honestly, there are some shots in the movie that are it's shot really, really well.
It is really nice.
I'll say this. It's shot a lot better than it could be or should be, really.
Right. And there's a scene even where I think Mr. Grey Batman is at the piano and Miss Steele is walking across this beautiful shot with you can see this beautiful neon Ferris wheel out in the distance.
The background. It's a panorama of the city in the background, and they're hugging each side of the frame, him near the piano, her on the other side of the... coming in wrapped in sheets, looking almost like a ball gown, which is a nice, interesting little moment.
It was very well done,
visually.
And it looked really cool visually. We have to put the disclaimer there. But so the visuals in the movie were cool. Another fun pro, there was a great scene.
The contract scene.
The contract negotiation scene.
I love this scene.
So, it was really the only part of the movie that seemed to really work for me, where it was this is a very interesting topic. And a lot of the movie, especially how the main character, the guy, Gray, approaches the topic, is very stalky and weird and scary in some ways.
Yeah.
But this negotiation scene is very fun.
Yeah,
it brings
it's a lighthearted scene.
Lighthearted, a lot of energy. It has fun with, they're basically doing a contract negotiation about what they can and can't do in this, sexual relationship.
Well, I like that you put it that way. That's what it should be. What they can and can't do.
Right.
Essentially what it is he puts a contract in front of her that says what she can and can't do.
Right.
And she is having to go through it line by line and strike things out, such as anal fisting, vaginal fisting, this, that, whatever. She's going through line by line. But the reason that the scene works is because he's a businessman, and in this scene, she speaks his language and almost beats him at his own game. Mm-hmm. And it's almost this moment that, you get a hint that she could have, at some point, along the development of this movie, had an actual character that we cared about and is interesting.
Yeah, but that character disappears as soon as she leaves that room.
Well, it wasn't there. It was non-existent before that scene, and it's non-existent
It was almost
afterward.
like they shot that scene beforehand, and she was like, so this is what the character's going to be. They're like, yeah, oh yeah, sure.
That'll work.
So I think that kind of ends our pros of the film. So now let's get a little bit into the cons, which I'm sure you guys can tell. There are a few of them. So our first one is going to be chemistry. Chemistry.
This is a romance movie.
There should be a lot of it.
The whole movie hinges upon the relationship between actor A and actor B. And both of these people, I'm sorry, Dakota Johnson, is that her name?
I have no idea.
Dakota Johnson or something, and whoever the fuck this dude Christian Grey is, they're really boring.
They really are.
Honestly, the only thing that we get from her as a personal descriptor that is supposed to, I think, is the moment that I'm supposed to understand what this person wants out of life is she's fixing her hair in the mirror. She, has it down. She puts it up into a sort of a non-assuming ponytail, and then she like stares longingly into the mirror and like bites her lip, which seems to be the only thing throughout the movie that she does that is then noticed and commented on by Christian Grey. And it seems, I don't know whether they were going for an oral fetish. I mean, half the movie, she's got his fucking pencil just going in and out of her mouth. Oh my God, there's like nothing going on there.
There's a little bit too much of that. Like, it's just so, I think there was literally a shot
do a close-up.
where they did a close-up of just that pencil that said Grey on it going into her mouth.
She's literally...
like, we get it, movie. They're gonna have sex at some point.
She's thinking about him in her mouth, quite literally. Okay, so like we're bagging on her, right?
Right.
What about this guy? This dude
has nothing going on.
I mean, the only thing is that we don't know exactly what he does or why he's a millionaire.
We don't know what he does. We know he's big on control. Outside of that, I can't tell if he has a personality.
Well, you know what? I think that's part of the character. That's part of what the movie's going for.
He's supposed to be a cold, removed person.
He's cold because he's had his innocence at a young age taken away from him. Mm-hmm. He's a little bit broken. He's cold. And what the movie's supposed to be, I think, except I just never felt any pulse whatsoever. At one point he says necrophilia is not really my thing. Well, it kind of felt like it because both of these people are dead fish.
So really the summation here is that there just is no chemistry between these two characters and no chemistry for us to tap into. It's very bland. It's very flat.
The odd thing is we're talking about how like they have no chemistry, but these two characters kind of deserve one another.
I guess they do. They're both like
they're both boring.
Our next con is actually what the fuck.
What the fuck?
I know that doesn't seem like a constructive thesis statement to work off of, but let us explain.
It's honestly the only thing that can describe what happens in this movie.
Okay, so there is probably like 20 minutes, 30 minutes into this film, there's a scene that takes place at a bar. Our lead female character, she has gotten drunk. Oh my God. And she's had like maybe one or two more shots than you should. Holy crap.
She has to go to the bathroom.
Goes to the bathroom, whips out her flip phone, calls Grey. I was about to say Dorian Gray, but that just would have been a way too interesting film to make. Calls Grey, and she just, I'm drunk, haha. And like, he's like, what are you doing?
She kind of gives him some shit, you know? And then he basically derides her for being drunk.
For drinking.
And then asks her where she is.
Where are you? And then calls her back and says, I know where you are. I'm coming to get you.
Ask yourself this question. How did he find out where she was? Did he reroute the cell phone call somehow?
You know what?
Because he's a rich guy?
This actually plays more to my theory of that he's actually
he's Batman.
He's sex Batman. He's actually just, you know, he uses his sex computer instead of the Bat computer, and he can locate her. So he shows up, and he like kind of breaks up this awkward moment between her and her friend, who's always kind of liked her.
Yeah, her friend's kind of hitting on her, and he's not getting the message, you know?
Yeah, and he like pushes him out of the way, like almost like a fight's about to start.
And
like,
here's the thing.
She said no.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that he says she said no, as if this guy Christian Grey is interested in what she wants and what she doesn't want.
Yet he doesn't, but we're not even there yet. We're now at this point where we're like, oh, Christian Grey is going to do the very gentlemanly thing. He's going to drive her home. She throws up, by the way. She throws up, and he like holds her hair, and we're like, oh, he's going to take care of her, drive her home.
So you imagine, he's going to do the right thing, right?
So now we cut to our thesis statement. We open on a hotel room. Whose hotel room is this, Todd?
It's Christian Grey's hotel room.
And Christian Grey's in here by himself, right?
Well, no, actually, it's her, Anastasia Steele, in Christian Grey's bed.
But he like just dropped her off in a random hotel room and went somewhere else, right?
No, it's his hotel room.
You're telling me the gentleman from the previous scene who pushed a man out of the way from almost kissing her,
who says, dude, she said no,
brought her, without her knowing, to his hotel room?
And not only that, Jay, he has replaced her clothes with clothes of his own.
Oh, okay.
And then he comes back. She's obviously very freaked out, because that's what you feel when you wake up in a complete stranger's place. She met this guy the day before.
Yeah.
There's a series of quotes that occur in this scene that just exemplify like kind of what's wrong with this situation, okay? Yeah. he asks her, how do you feel? And she says, better than I deserve.
You were just
Deserve what? What did you do wrong?
Drinking. Like, what? You didn't, like, go and you weren't, like, shooting heroin and, like, punching babies in a derelict apartment. You were at a bar with your friends having drinks.
And then she says, did you take off my clothes? And his answer is, I didn't have much choice.
That's what a psychopath says. That's what a crazy rapist psychopath says.
And then he makes her food.
Yep.
He leans over, takes a bite out of her toast that he just made for her. Again, like, she just, I guess, has this thing where, like, everyone has to just eat the food that she has.
Yeah, I think that's, you know what? That's her number one character trait.
That's her character
I'm sorry,
trait again.
we missed it before, guys. Well, I'll strike it from, she does have one extra. She lets people eat her food. There
Renew
it is.
the contract.
Yeah, I'll renew it right
Yeah,
there.
okay. He leans over, bites into her toast, and he says, if you were mine, you wouldn't sit for a week. And then leaves the room.
Now, anyone in this situation would probably reach for like a large object or like a weapon, check for knives, and then slowly back out, run out of this place.
That last line wouldn't be so creepy if this was a consensual situation.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's like a, you know, like really forward, very like
very forward.
sexy kind of line to lay on somebody.
But
only
after
if the other person has been, you know, giving you yeses all night.
But this came after this girl who blacked out, thought she was going home to her safe apartment with her roommate.
Awful this is.
It's so fucking terrifying.
There's something I have to bring up here, okay?
Sure.
There was a moment, I'll try to keep this brief. There was a moment at the awards ceremony, the Oscars. You've heard of them, right?
Yeah.
Where Dakota Johnson was with her mother, who's Melanie Griffith, who I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Right. And they're together, and there's a funny moment where someone asks them, like, oh, are you going to see your daughter's movie? And she's like, no. But the reason I bring it up is because earlier this year, in honor of Mike Nichols' death, they had a festival of his films. There's a movie called Working Girl. Okay. And I invite anyone to like that didn't like this movie to like go watch Working Girl and like it'll show you how it's done, because there's a very similar scene in it to this scene, but it's with Harrison Ford and Melanie Griffith is the lead in the film, and there's a scene that's very similar, but it's treated with so much more respect. I can't describe
and a lot more of like instead of like, yeah, I totally brought you here
exactly
on purpose.
There's so much more like, oh gosh, and you know, like I don't
what
know
did
what
we
to
do? Did we sleep together?
It's a you know what it is? It's mutual.
Yeah.
There's like a mutual thing, and he's so the Harrison Ford character is like so respectful,
apologetic.
Yeah, and like in this, and it's a similar scene, but it's just in this one, it's a back to our thesis. What the fuck?
So weird, guys.
And then there's so many other what the fucks that go on in this movie.
But this had to be just like the central piece, the central snowball that spiraled out to make an even larger. What the hell am I watching?
I mean, this is a guy whose response to "I'm a virgin" is to like move her into the bedroom when she asks, "What are we doing?" He says, we have to rectify the situation. The situation? Her virginity is a situation that needs to be rectified? Do you know how unhealthy that is?
You know how terrible that is?
It's a tone that is just confusing, right? And that takes us, I guess, into another con that we had.
Yeah. Most of the things we were seeing, as we just said, were like, what the... This is not a romance. This is a destructive, abusive relationship. This is not mutual. This is so weird.
And here you go. That's it right there. It's a non-like sort of mutual relationship. And the movie basically proposes that like it's okay to like sort of take some of this stuff if you're like really into a guy, and it kind of, to me, it's sort of it perpetuates this idea that like, you know, that like you can change him, it's all right, you know, you can reform him and like all this stuff. Meanwhile, it says to men that like, you know, it kind of perpetuates that thing. If you keep pursuing a girl, you know, she'll like, regardless of what,
creepily show up at her place multiple times without saying anything.
He's very aggressive and creepy.
He sells her fucking car.
He sells her car without her consent, which means that he stole her car.
Yep.
And then sold it. There's another scene where he shows up in her house.
Yep.
Which means that he broke in. He acts like in the whole movie, he's some fucking like God's gift to Earth or whatever.
I believe there's a line where he says like, she's like, well, what do you get out of it? It's like, oh, I get all this play stuff. And she's like, well, what do I get out of it? And he's like, you get me. That's it.
What the fuck is that line?
You get me,
You
baby.
get me because I'm so fucking great. I mean, let's look at the rent, right? He's a fucking billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got all this shit and he has some kinks. But like, at what point are we supposed to realize like what they actually have in common?
They don't have anything. That goes back to our original, where basically we're Ouroboros, we're eating our own tail. It finally comes back to, at the end of the day, the tone is confusing, the what the fuck is there, because finally there is no chemistry. There is nothing going on between these two, between the sex scenes. And the sex scenes are just mostly Beyonce music blasting with a lot of grinding. But like...
And whipping and
cuffing.
They should have played Rihanna, really.
They should have really. I mean, if they did their research. But yeah, I mean, it's just so strange. And I mean, that's just going to probably take us right into our punch-up of this film. So...
So our punch-up. What do you do here? I mean, like, what? Just make a better movie?
Yeah, just make a better film. I mean, first thing you do, you write the script, you hand it to someone, you let them read it, and then the notes that they give back where they're like, yeah, maybe not so much the weird rapey stock stuff, but like maybe a character in there. And they're like, you know what? A character is a good idea. I'm glad I let you read my scripts.
Maybe make the lead an interesting active protagonist.
And like, what could they be? Like if she's a lit college student, like,
because there's really not much that you really need to do here. You need to imbue the characters with some type of like beating heart that you can then understand and then make it a little interesting. So,
and that beating heart will pulse out into the rest of the film and fill it with the scenes where that feel cold and empty.
Right, because this isn't a super formulaic movie, right? For us, this is a bit of a left field kind of thing. So let's just like make the characters interesting and then, do over with the movie and then maybe it'll be better. In the movie, she's a lit student. What if she's a law student?
Right, that's interesting.
And she's going to interview him.
What are the interesting things of having her as a law student? You have a reverse of this character. Instead of being a very meek, she's now a much more forward, very more strong, aggressive character.
Sure, yeah, and there's verbal sparring in law.
Yeah, you can have a lot of more tete-a-tete with the Gray character.
That contract scene is now very interesting.
Now it's a lot more fun because she might be even more well-versed in the contracts than Gray is.
Right, and she's sort of, and whether she's doing the contract or he's still doing the contract and giving it to her.
That'd be interesting if she was setting the contract.
Yeah, maybe.
Because if she's a lawyer, is she working for the company or is she prosecuting him? That could be interesting as well.
There's a lot of stuff that you could do there.
You can play with that role.
What if she's a reporter?
Okay.
And she's got, for a newspaper, he's a guy, a high-profile billionaire that has got some, questionable business practices.
Right.
It's not like we've ever heard that story in real life.
Yeah, no, that never happened.
And she's going to interview this guy, and basically, she has so much dirt on him, she's trying to dig up, that she wants all this stuff, and she tries to, like, befriend him and everything, but basically, he knows exactly who she is. She knows that he knows who she is.
Yeah.
But they're
still playing this
somehow
game.
They play the game because they actually kind of become interested in one another, and she's got something that she's going after, and once he reveals maybe it turns out that actually he's a pretty good guy. It's some of the people in his company that are not so great, the company that has his name on it, and people in his company are not so good. He has his hands tied on it. Meanwhile, he likes to tie her hands.
Yes.
No, but he's got like some secrets, right?
No,
that
exactly.
Are the only secrets that he has are not bad business practices. They're intimate personal secrets.
And then you create some third act conflicts where, well, this is the real story.
Right.
Do I actually report on
do I expose him, for like the sexual deviant, quote unquote, that he has like revealed himself to me to be? Do I, and he's got some interesting stuff with her where like he doesn't know if he can trust her. He doesn't,
And as a billionaire, what kind of dangers does he have in his life? This might be an exciting game he's playing with himself. This is literally the worst person he should be in these kind of intimate secret relationships with. But now he's like, how far can I go before I literally screw myself over?
And she learns that she likes this, she's usually a person who likes to be in control. And then what she learns is that in her physical, sexual life, life, she kind of likes to be controlled because it's a letting go kind of thing and letting someone, being vulnerable with someone.
And if our first punch-up of this film is just make more round, interesting characters, the second one has just got to be that any of that stuff is a mutual, respected relationship. If you're going to delve into that world, and that's an interesting world, we don't see that very much in films, and it's not something very touched upon if in a positive light at all.
Right.
But if you're going to talk about it, then maybe give it more of a respectful approach, and that would be interesting.
Depending on how it kind of wraps up, you can make a comment on like what even it means to be in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
When it seems like to everyone else, like, oh, they're in a
crazy relationship.
They're in a deviant, kind of relationship, and that is sort of the thing that ties them together because they're so infatuated with one another, and by the way, with each other's personality.
Yeah.
Because they respect one another.
Not just handcuffs and weird touching. But yeah. All right, guys. So that's our punch-up, and that'll be taking us right into our smash-up.
Smash, 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 smash,
Smash, smash, smash, Welcome to Blockbuster Smash-Up. This is our game where Todd and I will smash two unlikely films together to make one cohesive film.
A strange bedfellow, if you will.
Because this was an interesting and odd episode for us with 50 Shades of Grey, not being your typical popcorn explosion robot dinosaur fare.
And not our typical
wheelhouse
either.
We're actually going to be doing a smash-up around romances or sexy thrillers.
Yeah.
So on the count of three, I have the globally accepted bad film, and Todd has the globally accepted good film.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. On the count of three. One, two, three. The Love
Fifth
Guru.
Element. The Love Guru.
The Love Guru.
You just had to pick the worst movie ever made that I actually have not even seen. Have you seen that movie?
So I have seen The Love Guru. It's terrible.
Seen The Love Guru.
Yeah, it's okay. So the quick synopsis of
Doesn't
The
that
Love
have something
Guru.
to do with hockey?
Yes. Mike Myers
Somehow.
is American. He then travels and learns the ways of romance from India and returns to America to be a spiritualist for a hockey player to get his marriage back together. This is the plot of The Love Guru.
Oh my God.
Need I say more? I probably shouldn't.
Oh boy.
It's terrible.
So I chose The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Which is a movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great film.
That movie goes for everything and gets it. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna have this weird shit, and you're like, yeah.
So I guess if you can create a synopsis for this, it's that there's an ultimate evil in the world, and there's an ultimate weapon that can fight this evil, and it is in the form of a beautiful woman.
She is the perfect being.
Yeah, and our lead character is Bruce Willis, and he basically is this like retired military guy who now drives a cab, and he's sort of a badass, and the only thing that's missing from his life is the perfect woman.
Yeah.
Into his lap literally drops Lilu, the ultimate weapon against the ultimate evil, and they go on a journey together that sort of saves the world, so to speak.
And it's amazing. If you haven't seen The Fifth Element, definitely check it out. It's
great movie, great crazy like world, like megapolis kind of world with like cars whizzing by and like super future kind of stuff.
It's so weird, but the best way weird can be.
That's right.
So how do we slam these two films together? Love Guru and The Fifth Element.
So
okay, so there's an ultimate evil, right?
The Detroit Red Wings?
Yes. The Detroit Red Wings are the ultimate evil, and they need the ultimate perfect hockey player to win. But the hockey player is just not getting it. He doesn't have the goodness in him. It's broken because of his marriage. Because his marriage is falling apart. So they call in their own John McClane to help fix their own Bruce Willis.
I'm just gonna let you roll with this.
You know what? It isn't Mike Myers. It is Bruce Willis in Bruce that Willis. Giant beard.
So Bruce Willis is a retired military guy who goes to India to
become a spiritualist. He comes back. He looks exactly the same,
except he has a beard.
He has a beard, and he still has the shaved head.
Right, just with a beard. And the hockey player is who exactly?
The hockey player is The hockey player is actually, he's from another country. His name is Lilu. And he needs to train up to beat the ultimate evil, which is the Red Wings. Because
so he's the ultimate weapon against the ultimate evil.
Exactly. And we know by prophecy, every 5,000 years, the Red Wings resurrect themselves from the graves of the destroyed Red Wings previously.
That's
and
right.
challenge the world to a global hockey destruction match where if they win the final match, they get the cup, and with the cup they can destroy the world. So
right. The ultimate weapon is the cup.
With only the team up of Lilu, the chosen one hockey player, and Bruce Willis as a love guru
who has to put back together his marriage, right?
Exactly.
With Mia Jovovich or Jovovich.
Yeah, Mia Jovovich
right?
is the other part of that marriage, and together, and he uses
knows kung fu somehow.
Yeah, she knows kung fu.
Yeah.
She's fighting the Red Wings in the last third final act. He's very spiritual. He uses like natural things like water and fire and air and earth to bring them back together. Like, they do earth exercises together, and they do they play in a pool together to bring their marriage back.
Oh my!
They're gonna light the candle for the romantic scene, but he has no matches. He doesn't have any matches, and Chris Tucker comes in and lights the candle at the perfect time, and the romance happens, and he can finally rejoin his marriage and rebuild it, and beats the Red Wings just in time.
Thank God.
Thank God.
And it's called the love element.
The love element? That's great. It is the love element. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 23 of Blockbuster Punch-Up and our review of 50 Shades of Grey. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at blockbusterpunchup@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at partialarc. And be sure to follow Todd on Twitter and Instagram at TG11.
Be sure to do it.
See you on the next episode of Blockbuster Punch-Up.
Let's go home.